And just introduce yourself. Feel free to come off mute or drop a question in the chat. And feel free. Yeah. Okay. Is that Nikki? I hope I'm saying it right.
Yep, that's right. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. We can hear you.
Perfect. Great. So sorry I'm not on camera. I'm sort of out and about, but I really thought it was important to come to this. My question is this. I run a very small local newsroom and we do not focus on anything besides local government. We don't talk about national government or politics or anything like that. So I'm wondering if this kind of fellowship is appropriate for the kind of work that we are doing.
And what's your newsroom?
Sorry, this is Burlington Buzz in Burlington, Massachusetts.
Great. Yeah. So we want newsrooms that are covering issues most important to their communities. So and the intersection of community concern and government. So I don't think that would be an issue. And in terms of, we actually, yeah, so the purpose of this fellowship and we actually have another democracy fellowship called Advancing Democracy, which is more focused on politics and moving away from horse race coverage. But this is really about how governments function. And it's for newsrooms that are interested in doing solutions reporting on how governments work and when they get things right. Linda, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, we really when we think about how you apply the solutions lens, both to politics and government and democracy, it really includes covering what government is doing, right? And applying a solutions lens to that, because democracy doesn't start and end on election day. It's all year round. And coverage of government is an important piece of that. So, Nikki, I would say, actually, the fellowship is very clearly designed for covering local issues, and in fact might be easier to cover locally because you have a community you know well, and can do solutions coverage around the issues that are most important to them.
And you also know the people in power, and you can get them you'll have some leverage to get them to answer your questions. So I think don't see a problem with that at all. All right. I see Amy, one of our members of the Advancing Democracy Fellowship. Hey, Amy.
Hey. I just had a quick question I saw something in there about particularly being interested in coverage on infrastructure projects. I wanted to maybe have you talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So, as you all know, there's been something like a $2 trillion federal investment in infrastructure projects, everything from climate mitigation to transportation to broadband, a lot of money on transportation. And we see that as an area that could use more solutions coverage, more engagement journalism, understanding the needs of communities, and ensuring that things like best practices and evidence are used to help engage with communities to understand the stakes of those projects. We're talking about things around climate change. The stakes are very high. And so it's a way to do good accountability journalism and to make sure that elected officials are using an evidence-based approach and looking at where success has been made as work, and whereas these programs have worked elsewhere. And so that's why we are really interested in that. We noticed there hasn't been a ton. I mean, that money is being allocated and going out, but there's still a lot of potential for some really good solutions reporting around those issues. And that money is being distributed all over the country. It's touching many, if not every community in this country. So we think that's something that we want to support. Reporting on those programs through a solutions lens is something that's we think would be really important. Linda, do you want to add anything to that?
No, but hopefully, is that interesting to you, Amy? That would be great if it was. you know, it certainly is an area of big, yeah, we think it's important for the reporting around infrastructure not to be just about what's going wrong, because there's going to be plenty of that, but also to spread good ideas and to help communities figure out how to best utilize that money.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know in Austin that's like we're getting a lot of money for transportation projects in particular that are coming through. So that seems cool. I'm curious too, like, is the interest then specifically on infrastructure projects being funded from the federal government level from that, or can it be, I guess I'm asking because, I mean, that could be a good avenue. But also, as I've been working on some of the stuff in this current fellowship, a lot has come up around long-term infrastructure around affordable housing and homelessness that I can't really dive into quite yet, but would be a nice I like rabbit hole around it. And I'm curious if like that might be a potential option. Like it's like bond funding. It's like some stuff around, how well is the city managing other kinds of public money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, go ahead, Jessel.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Both of those would be really good. And I think there's some, well, you're saying it's not necessarily federal infrastructure money that's going into housing. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I guess it is, right? The federal government yearly pays money into these things. So I guess that's true. It's just not from, I guess, that particular bill, right? Like the federal government one that's housing some of, the climate related stuff. I can't remember what it's called now, but.
So I actually saw some reporting that some of that money would go into housing.
Oh, okay.
Especially around like climate mitigation. I just Googled this website. I'm not familiar with it, so I don't know if that's an actual. I don't know if that's actually a reliable, a credible source. But I did read something around how some of that money could be used to invest in housing. So I think there could be some potential there, for sure. And we have another question. And I just wanted to share, we also have frequently an FAQ around for this program that I'll drop the link in the chat. So some of your questions may be answered in there. But I think I saw Kristen. Is that right, Kristen Sanders?
You did. Thank you so much. First, I want to thank you for this opportunity. It's wonderful, and the timing could not be better. I'm the Director of Sales and Philanthropy for the Philadelphia Citizen. We're a solutions journalism media organization. Linda's smiling. She knows us. Thank you so much for knowing us. We have no shortage of topics to cover and things that we can submit. Our goal is to reignite citizenship and democracy in the American city where it was born. So again, the timing is just perfect. I do have a manpower issue, though. There's only 8 of us trying to save the aforementioned democracy and citizenship. And I'm guessing that maybe our most senior, actually our deputy editor, would be the one qualifying for the training and mentorship and checking in and program and structure. I guess I should, I'd love to get enough information to sort of keep her calm on how that might work into her regular workday schedule to enhance it rather than feel like an additional burden. So again, thanks for the opportunity, and we're very excited to submit.
Yeah, we are really thrilled that you heard about this and are thinking about applying. We actually use some of your reporting in our training, so we're very familiar with your work. And yeah, and I think Linda will have some thoughts on this as well. But so in terms of participation, we require at least 2 people, a reporter and an editor, to participate in the fellowship. But we encourage you to bring as many people as you like. Especially people that are involved in government and democracy coverage. A lot of the trainings will be helpful for not just the core group. We will say, we will. Yeah. So I know Linda will have some thoughts on that. I'll just add something we have thought about too is we know that for some folks the election will sort of be their main focus of coverage before and after the election. So we would encourage perhaps not assigning an editor that's also working on the election on the fellowship, if that's possible. We know that those kind of things aren't always possible, but that was a thought we had in mind as the election, looms and gets closer and closer. We could see that being a potential, choke point. But that's something that we can discuss and figure out, and also adjust. If we know things change, newsrooms change, structure changes sometimes. So we're happy to work with you and help troubleshoot whatever.
Is it your vision to do these as Zooms in small bites, an hour at a time, or 45 minutes at a time, or 3 hours at a time? Maybe
90
that's
90 minutes.
90 minutes. Okay,
Yeah.
90 minutes. Okay.
We try to keep it, under 90, like 75 to 90. And that includes like time for small group discussion. So it's never like me talking for 90 minutes, because we know that would not be a formula for success. So.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we really designed this to be as much as possible, working on the stories and to some extent getting ready to work on the stories, but then working on the stories, giving time in those Zooms to work on the stories so that, you're actually, getting work done that you would be doing otherwise. I mean, there's some in addition to that, to be clear. But the idea is to give as much time as possible to help get those stories underway.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that.
And we required 2 folks just because we want it to be a
Right.
newsroom effort, right?
Sure.
Too often we've seen that if it's just one person, they're especially if it's a reporter and it's an editor, doesn't understand solutions journalism and doesn't understand the program, it doesn't work well. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, Pennsylvania is one of 4 states that are going to be especially meaningful this fall. So we expect to be GMO in a good way.
Absolutely. Amanda, I see Amanda's hand raised.
Yes.
We can hear.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Thank you. Sorry I can't turn on my camera. I'm also out and about, but I really wanted to be part of this call. So I just wanted to explain a little bit first who I'm representing today. So I'm the climate editor of the Opt Out News Foundation. We are a news ecosystem. We have over 200 independent outlets or partners. And we have the first ever news gathering app that is entirely only with independent media. And together with Opt Out, we now have Important Context, which would be our formal outlet that we would like to apply for this grant with. So the thing is, we had already been in the process of writing this project that I'm not sure if it would be a best fit for this grant or maybe for the Advancing Democracy grant. And then I wanted to tell you a little bit about this so you could tell me, please. Sorry if I'm taking too long. So we had been working on a year-long project to do a more in-depth coverage of the American democracy, to go beyond the first 180 days of the next government. So we wanted to start around the election time with our stories, looking into what to expect from the new president, looking into what he has done before and what are the promises, and then from then on we would have a monthly story looking deeply into one issue that relates to democracy, because we really wanted to do this holistic coverage. So we would take 1 month to look into climate related issues, one to LGBTQA+ issues, gun safety, housing, so healthcare, a lot of that. And when we saw this grant, we were really excited because we really loved the idea of engaging with the solutions angle to all that. And in fact, even to try something that, well, it may be happening, but I haven't personally seen a lot of that, but to combine, to combine investigative journalism with a solutions angle. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what we had in mind, just to know if this is something that, I know that this grant, the period would end in July, but we do want to go on until December. So we could do part of it inside the program and find other forms of financing. But I just wanted to understand if this is something that we could do. And then we would also make all of our reporting available to all of our 200 partners to make to reproduce it for free, you know, like to make the distribution even broader.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we, I mean, the requirements we have are that the selected newsrooms participate in the fellowship between September and June, but that doesn't mean we want to give you the support you need to continue that work. We're not, you know, we don't want you to just stop this work when June comes. So if your project, you know, will continue, that's great. We are, you know, we do, in exchange for the training and funding, we hope that newsrooms produce 2 solution stories during the fellowship, and we'll, you know, give you all the support you need to do that. So as long as that fits in your work and your timeline, then the requirements won't be an obstacle. Does that answer your question? And
yes,
you know,
thank you. And yeah, sorry. And yeah, so I was just wondering if it's a better fit for this grant or for the Advancing Democracy grant, or I don't know, just wanted to make sure that we can apply with this project for the grant.
So, oh, Linda, did you want to? Sorry, you're muted, Linda.
From what you described, it seems like this project would be a good fit. The other kind of practical matter is that Advancing Democracy is, you know, we don't have applications open for the next year for that right now. And it may get revamped. So we don't, we're not quite sure of the future of that right now.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, and if you have more specific questions, you know, feel free to email me, and we can also set up a time to chat if you have more. If you have more questions, we can chat more in depth. I see Harriet.
Hi, how are you? Thanks so much for this opportunity. I appreciate the, you know, your access and availability to answer questions. I also have a question about whether we are a suitable org to apply for this, because we're a little bit of a special case. I'm the project manager for something called the Connecticut Student Journalism Collaborative, which is not a conventional newsroom, but it's a partnership of all the public universities and colleges in Connecticut. We aim to republish as much student journalism from the state as possible. So we do that through our own website. We also have agreements with 3 of the major nonprofit news orgs in the state to republish student work. So we looked at this grant and we thought, does this maybe fit as something that could be a special study for a senior student, an upperclassman with either a faculty advisor or one of our editors working with them to maybe look at issues that were of specific interest to younger people. So I don't know, that I'm sort of putting you on the spot because we're a different kind of organization, but just curious if that feels like a fit to you or not.
I think I might ask Linda to respond. I know in the past we have been unable to accept student newsrooms.
Okay.
But Linda might have a
I think Jessel, I was going to say Jessel should answer that. I think, you know, I think we'd be willing to consider it. We should probably have a few more conversations, a longer conversation about it. What really is important to us is, you know, we don't accept freelancers for this because the idea is to get published works out in the world. So we need to know for sure that the work of the student would be published, and would need to know that ahead of time, for example. So happy to have, as Jessel said, happy to have a conversation about that, learn a little bit more about how this would work, how you envision it working, and then we can give better guidance about whether this is a good fit.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'll just add quickly, because we do in various ways, solutions journalism works really strongly with student journalists. And if you're not aware of our student media challenge, are you aware of that? We can get you information about that as well, because that's
That'd be
something
great.
that
Yeah,
you might be interested in. So
sure. So just, just to fill in on an answer on that one question. So we work closely with editors at Connecticut Public and at WSHU, which are two NPR affiliates, and also at the Connecticut Mirror. So all three of those sites have republished our students' work. So, if this was something we qualified for and were successful with, we could certainly bring in editors there to guarantee that the work gets published.
that's great. And I know WSHU and Connecticut Mirror have both been partners of ours in the past, and
Yeah,
are very familiar with solutions reporting. So that's great. And Amanda, are you still here? Yeah, I also noticed that many of your partners also have been partners of ours in the past. So I always love to see that overlap.
Yay, thank you. Yeah, I'm also not here alone. I'm here with Olivia Ruggio. She is also from Opt Out. So we're here together looking into it so we can do a great application.
Yeah, and I mentioned our FAQ, which I'll pull over to the screen. But there's more. We answer some of the questions we know that will come up. This is only open to US-based newsrooms that can commit at least one reporter and editor to fully participate in the program. We are giving preference to news organizations that want to cover infrastructure and where newsrooms are serving communities where civic participation is low, where there's low voter participation. We think that it's important to get these kind of stories, especially to all audiences, but especially those audiences, and also newsrooms that are serving historically excluded communities. As I mentioned, for those just joining, we know the election is looming and it's on everyone's mind. And so we'll be flexible around the election. We are breaking before and after, and we'll be closely following developments there. We envision the fellowship taking about 13 hours a month, and about 3 hours in training workshops and about 10 hours of independent work. And the independent work is really just implementing what you're learning in your reporting. So we're not trying to give like homework for homework's sake, but really give you a chance to apply what you're learning. We have some links here to look at resources and trainings, and on our democracy initiative page. You do not have to be trained in solutions journalism to do this fellowship. We'll provide that training, but it wouldn't hurt. And we know that there's a lot of great newsrooms that we've worked in the past. We want to encourage to apply, but we don't want to make that. We want to encourage all newsrooms, even if you haven't worked with us in the past. We want you to be comfortable applying. We haven't gotten any questions about what solutions journalism is, so assuming everyone is familiar here, but it's rigorous reporting on the responses to social problems. And the idea is to rebalance the news and to report on what's working and not just what's going wrong. We're really excited about this opportunity because our democracy work has really been focused on elections. And so there's a whole nother aspect of of government that is sort of has not gotten the attention it deserves. And we know for decades, journalism has been focused on, it's sort of like stuck in that Watergate era of putting an overemphasis on exposing what's wrong, which is important. It's important to expose what's wrong, but an overemphasis on that means that people aren't getting information on what governments actually do right. And so we've seen, we're all familiar with how trust in the media has fallen in recent decades, and that's also true for government, trust in government, and that's dangerous for democracy. So we're hoping that by reporting on solutions, people can better understand the potential of what effective government can look like, and the ways it can actually improve people's lives.
Right, because or if there are those on the call who aren't that familiar with solutions journalism, this is not about making government look good. This is not about puff pieces. This is about or fluff. This is about rigorous reporting that looks at responses to social problems, in this case, government's responses to social problems that have actual good evidence that they're working. This is about the spreading good ideas that I talked about earlier. And we know this is a hurdle for many journalists, and we'll talk about this. Kristen, you guys have long understood and done this work, but others haven't. And I know as a longtime journalist myself, it is an important job to expose what's going wrong, but your job just doesn't stop there. And if our overall mission is to help our communities improve, we don't accomplish that if we just uncover what's wrong and then stop there and don't ask, and leave it up to the public officials to solve it, right? Why would we stop there? And anyway, if I'm just riffing on maybe what many of you already know, Amy, I know you already know, Kristen, I know you already know, but it might be new to some of the rest of you. So if you have any questions on that, please ask. I also have a question for you all. Oh, go ahead, Kristen.
Oh, you're muted, Kristen. We can't hear you.
Oh,
I see that now. And since you're my fourth Zoom today, I should have the hang of this, right? I just wanted to share, we recently ran an event series called The Ultimate Job Interview, which was all of our mayoral candidates. So it was not negative at all. It was come present your best stuff. Come tell people why they need to vote for you the same way that you would in a job interview. So, and it worked quite well. We got feedback that we were people's primary source for information to hear from the candidates themselves. So.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
I have a question for you all. We hope to be able to bring in a partner who can really help with some of the data work that some of your projects may involve. And I'm interested in hearing what's on your guys' minds, if that would be useful in some of the projects that you're thinking about.
What kind of data work? I mean, I know I talked with you all about some of this already, but that's like my constant issue with trying to do some of these is like inability to get the data that I need in a timely manner, so I don't have to wait months for it. I don't know if that's the kind of thing that can be helped, or if someone can just even read data, like can help understand data.
Both of those things, yes.
Yeah.
Tips on how to get data faster, helping identify data that exists, and helping to both the skills to interpret it yourself and or help you interpret it. All of the above.
I don't know if I have any answers for that, but just to add another voice to the idea of like often what we see when we're covering issues in town is the question of what are other towns doing, and our town just hasn't bothered looking. And so I think ways to help the municipalities gather and recognize that the data exists and gather that data and analyze it could be very helpful, but I'm not sure if that actually is what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think also maybe different types of data. Because I think that often, especially from my experience with solution stories, we often don't get, like data in terms of numbers and things that have already been published or something. So often this data might come as some more qualitative type of data from, like local communities or something like that. So I think that also maybe how to get this other type of data when like official data is not available, and how to treat this different type of data, I think could be very helpful too.
Yeah, great. Yeah, the partner we're thinking more specializes in quantitative data, but we know a lot about qualitative data as well. So that'll definitely, all of that will be part of the fellowship, right, Jessel?
Yes. And to answer Amy's question, when when different municipalities, use different metrics or categorize their data differently, we think that, we think the partner we're thinking of can help navigate some of those big challenges, and find and help make it easier to report on. And you want to find, one of the things we're always saying is like, who's doing it better, right? And so to be able to really figure that out, you need to look at the actual evidence, and the evidence is often contained in data that's really hard, that's not easy to access. And so we're hoping this partnership can bring you all the tools you need to really dig into that, and just to make solutions reporting more credible. The more evidence you have, right, the stronger evidence you have, the more impactful that reporting is going to be. And so we think it could be a pretty, hopefully, impactful tool for all. Oh, Linda, you're muted again.
I think we've heard from everyone except Natasha. Natasha, is there anything on your mind?
Hi, everyone. I'm Natasha Harris. I'm actually representing the Hartford Times, so from Connecticut. Just listening in, I won't be part of the grant in terms of an editor or a journalist, so just trying to gather a bit of data to send back to the team. But
Great,
no
welcome.
questions right now.
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't know if you all saw the latest Reuters Institute report, but news avoidance is up in the US, which is concerning, up from the 38% they reported last year, which is troubling. Trust in news is also a big concern. But we know that people who avoid the news want solutions, stories. And we had, some of you are familiar with this, but we commissioned a study from Smith Geiger last August, and it found that majorities of Americans want media that really presses for solutions and uses evidence and looks at, what solutions might have worked elsewhere or not worked. There can be instructive failures as well. And also uses, there's definitely, it's really up to how newsrooms want to use the reporting they create, but it could really be a good tool. This government reporting could be a really good tool for election reporting, because you would now have the reporting you need to hold politicians accountable on what the policies are and the impacts are. And you've already found the evidence to hold them accountable. So we think that can be a powerful tool as well. We talked about evidence. I just wanted to put my email up. So if you have more questions, feel free to reach out. We know that summer is busy, so the applications are open until July 31st. So you have some time. And I'll be here for the next week to answer questions, and I'm going to be on vacation for about 10 days. But then I'll be back, and I'll try not to check my emails when I'm away, but when I'm back, I will.
I'm here. I'm here.
Linda's
So
here.
you can email me as well.
If there are any questions, you can reach her. But I'm generally around, and you can reach me on email. So
Yeah, and I know you're winding up. You're maybe working to wind up in case there's more questions. Kristen, you unmuted? Did you have a question?
I didn't. I wrote, this was great. Thanks again for this opportunity.
Yeah, I would just take one more minute just to say, like, what the ideas that you guys are bringing up are exciting. And just to riff on what Jessel talked a little bit about earlier about being an accountability tool, like Kristen, all those ideas that the mayoral candidates talked about in your event, right? Once the election is over, that's a great time to start vetting those, right?
And we do.
Like,
we hold their feet
yeah.
to the fire on every one of them. Absolutely. So.
And sometimes it's not just like, are you doing it, but is it actually a good idea or not? Is there
For
evidence?
sure. Oh, we've done report cards already. We're not even up to the general election yet.
Yeah, you guys do great work. So yes, yeah.
I'll share that with Larry and Roxanne. They'll be delighted.
Yes. So anyway, there's just opportunities to, like you do, Kristen, to hold politicians' feet to the fire to actually solve the problems, not just talk about solving the problems. And looking at the politician's idea, do they have evidence that they'll work? Why or what, yes or no? And if they don't, what are some other things that the community should, or the politicians and the community should be considering? So that's my last little soapbox statement, Jessel, as you're trying to wrap up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Linda. Thank you. And in addition to the fellowship, we're also just going to be doing more to support this network, all of you that are interested in this work and looking for resources. We don't have a lot of capacity to do that right now, but you have my email. So if you're looking for resources, please let me know. And if you're getting this, if you're in this meeting right now, I will add you to our network list, and we'll be having regular meetings, just a space to talk, troubleshoot. And we know that those spaces can be really helpful, share tools and resources. And we know that's also something you need. And so we don't want to limit that just to people that are in our fellowships. We want to make that open to everyone doing this work, because we know there's always a need for that support. And this work can feel lonely if you're the only one in town doing it. And we want you to feel that support that we all have for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Yeah, thank you all for attending. You had some really great questions, and I think Lynn and I have a better sense of what everyone is hoping to achieve and needs from us. So this is all also really helpful for us as well. Wonderful. And again, don't hesitate to reach out with questions as you're doing your application. Yeah. So we appreciate everyone's time on this Monday. And if there's interest in another one of these, let me know. We can do one before if more questions come up, we can do another one, another round of this before the applications close if there's a lot of interest. So,
Awesome.
All right, everybody.
Again.
All right, thanks so much.
Bye.